On this podcast, our teen hosts discuss real life with real people.
We hope to inspire others by sharing stories of individuals and pairs of friends who have dealt with mental health challenges or just the ups and downs of life, and discussing what brought them healing and inner peace.
In these episodes, we also talk about the role that friendship and connection plays in a person's emotional well-being.
Subscribe to this podcast to be a part of our Friends on Air family.
Friends on Air! Welcome to the third episode of Season 2.
Woo!
Woo!
Okay.
Awesome.
So hi, I'm Chloe. I am a senior and I'm going to be one of your hosts for today.
Hi, I'm Maya Zimmerman. I'm also a senior and I'll be your second host for today.
Hi, I'm Allie. I'm the wellness coordinator here at the Friendship Circle. I have a counseling and mental health background, so I will be chiming in on that. And I am so excited for the topic and the speaker that we have today.
Thanks, Allie. I'm Ayala. I'm the Teen Member Engagement and Partnerships Coordinator at Friendship Circle, and I get to work on all of our wellness initiatives, which includes this podcast. And I'm super excited for today's conversation. Excited to be here.
Awesome. So in today's episode, we're going to be exploring the roots of Friendship Circle. As we know it, its inception and inclusion and the healing power of friendship, and how we look at mental health, self, and community wellness by hearing from Rivkee Rudolph, the co-founder of our very own Pittsburgh Friendship Circle. Woo. Welcome. We're so happy to have you.
Good afternoon. Thanks
Awesome.
for having me. I'm truly honored.
Yeah.
Of course.
A little nervous to meet the expectations because the guests that have come before me have been so cool to listen to, and you guys do such a great job. I hope I don't disappoint.
You were not going to. So,
Never.
Rivkee, give us a little bio.
All right,
Give us a
I
little
am
life bio
Rivkee
real
Rudolph,
quickly.
grew up in Pittsburgh, stayed in Pittsburgh, left a little bit here and there, but now, thank God, raising my family here, and so grateful to have been a part of building this Friendship Circle community with a lot of great people that I get to interact with all the time. That's pretty much what I do, raise my family and show up at Friendship Circle.
So
Awesome.
in a sentence or two, what are you here to talk about?
Whatever you guys want to know. And I think I'm here to talk a little bit about how Friendship Circle's inclusion model has evolved over the years and how we eventually got to the point where we're really focused on being sure to be aware of supporting all of our members in their mental health journeys in whatever way that we can. So kind of the story of how we got to that point and what we do.
So at the beginning of each episode, we like to ask a fun speed round question. So the question today is, how do you choose your friends?
All right, the lazy answer or the honest answer, I should say, whoever I'm easy to get in touch with, the people
That's
that I'm
fair.
around,
Yeah.
the people who I interact with anyway.
Mhm.
Honestly, that's been my thing and something that I think about a lot, especially as we talk about friendship formation all the time at Friendship Circle. And I think about my own journey of friendship, since I was a kid, as an adult now. And really, when I think about friendship in my life, it's always been the people who have been immediately around, my sisters, the people who I was in high school with, the people who I didn't branch out much. And that's which has been fine. It's worked well for me. But Friendship Circle has really opened my eyes to maybe friendship opportunity that I missed and how I think about friendship in my adult life. So I think my new answer around that, when I think about myself as an adult and how I choose my friends, I would say when I'm being intentional in choosing my friends, it's the people that I feel good around, the people that I feel good when I walk away from about myself. So that's my friendship goals as an adult, I'd say.
That's good.
Do you find that it's been harder for you to find those people when you've been throughout those people that you've just been surrounded with? Or is it easier now for you, now that you genuinely know what a connection is supposed to be like and feel like, to find someone who fits those requirements almost?
Yeah, I think it's no one ever wants to think of friendship as a job or responsibility that you have to go friendship looking or seeking. I think it's more expectations and managing expectations around your friends. And I think that's something that your question was like, is it easier? No, like it's,
If anything, it's probably harder.
yeah, it's harder, but it doesn't mean you let go of the people who don't meet that exact criteria. It's just like recognizing like who are the people in your life that you interact with because they're part of your life, and who are the people that you really want them to show up in the way that you want a friend to show up, and just being realistic and intentional about that.
Yeah.
So it's part of growing up, I think. And I think my hope is like training kids at a younger age to understand like what friends can be. Like hopefully they'll be able to, make friends more intentionally. And benefit from what all that friendship has to offer at an even younger age, and show up for other people who need that too.
This is definitely a hard question. I think we're in an age where we are choosing our friends still 100%. I think just like the main thing for me is being with people who make me feel really good about myself, that embrace all my characteristics, all the things I do, all my habits. I think is people I really like to spend time with and are on the same moral and have the same values as I do, I think is really important for me.
I agree. I mean, personally, I have started to recognize myself as someone who, like, I can be in any friend group because, like, it's called the chameleon effect, where, like, you can be with people and you just adapt to how they are and, like, their mood. And I have started to realize that, like, I'm like that. And I, like, kind of like you were saying, trying to find the people who, like, actually make me feel good has been, like, I'm starting to realize that, like, those people are different than the people I thought were, like, my friends that I've had forever. And so, like, making these new friendships, I'm starting to understand, like, how different friendships can be and how important they really are.
Those were both
I
really
know, that is such a wise thing to know at a young age.
Yeah.
Because I honestly, like, looking back, I remember that being the same case for myself. Like, I had a lot of friend groups, and I would stick with them because I'm like, I have friends. Like, this is natural. This is what it's supposed to be like. But after a while, it's almost like a battery, and it's draining. And you're like, why do I not feel great after these interactions with people? I think there's some intentionality about recognizing what are the characteristics that I want in a friend, and are they meeting that?
Right.
So hats off to you guys for already being like cognizant of that. I think that's very impressive.
I agree.
I'm definitely very picky about my friends, like who I intentionally spend time with. I'm picky about everything in my life, but friends, friends are no different.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Definitely.
Do you have a separate answer, or was that part of it?
I mean, that definitely can be part of it for me, but getting older, I think trust is such an important thing. You'll see that it's better to have a couple very loyal friends who will always be with you than it is to have 10 friends who might be fair weather friends, as they say. So trust and really people who will match your loving, compassionate like spirit. I think that's important.
I mean, growing up, like, I always wanted to have a group, like, my people. Like, even now, like, I'm never gonna have, like, those people who are my people. I have friends. I have, like, friends who I can go to and I can tell things to, but, like, I go to different friends for different reasons now. Like, I have these people who I trust and who I have these relationships with, but I'm not gonna go to, like, my one friend about something who, like, doesn't give me anything back. Like, if they, like, put everything on me, like, I'm fine with that. Like, I can be your therapist friend, but I'm not going to come to you to give you that information. It's good to, like, have those other outlets and those other friends, which is just, like, hard, especially after, like, COVID and, like, just friends are hard.
Yeah.
Being a teenager is hard.
Being a teenager is super hard.
Yeah, and I think this is going to blend well into some of our other questions too that we have.
I'm wanting to get all over being reciprocal right now, but I'm going to hold on it.
I know. Same, honestly. And I'll answer the question.
Such good insight from both of you, really.
I agree.
And acknowledging that it's hard, because that's a big one. Like, people just associate friendship with, like, friendship and fun, like, just kind of goes together.
Yeah.
But, like,
well, because when you're little, it's just like, oh, your parents will make you play dates with whoever, and then you can just hang out. But, like, it's not like that when you are, like, in high school. You hang out to, like, relax and chill, and, like, it's not like that when you're a kid.
Right. Other things.
I would my answer is going to be echoing what you guys are saying. I think that resonates completely with me. Especially the Maya, what you said also like rang true, that like spend time around people who lift you up and who like embrace you completely and wholly, and who also encourage you to be better, who aren't just, I think who just make you a better person, and who you feel like truly yourself around. So that's what my answer would be. But those were deep answers, everyone.
They were.
I also want to say, and I may be cutting into some of the future questions you may have, that's something at Friendship Circle we've kept a close eye on over the years, like what the expectation is at different ages for what does friendship look like at different age. Because if we're all about offering friendship to everybody, making sure everyone has access to friendship, like what does friendship mean to different people? And when you're a kid, yes, it means, play dates on a Sunday or invitations to birthday parties. And how does that evolve as you grow up? And what does friendship mean to people at different stages of their life? And as the Friendship Circle, how can we support you through that? And how can we make sure that everyone is really, having whatever opportunities they can to be able to experience that important meaning of friendship to them, whatever it may be. So it's interesting to hear that you guys have recognized that, and we continue to use your insight on making sure that we're doing what we can to support you in that way.
So branching off of that, can you tell us a little bit about how you really knew that you wanted to start Friendship Circle, and that Friendship Circle isn't really something that when I explained it to my friends, they're like, what? They're like, you're just going and hanging out and being friends with people. And I'm like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So how did you start that, knowing that it wasn't really something that is already formed?
Great question, Chloe. And I would love to hear your older sisters answer that question, because it's so cool to me how Friendship Circle, our mission has evolved over the years, and it's neat to see the impact on different generations. So for those of you that haven't been here forever, Chloe's older sisters were both involved. Katie probably was here when we, in our early days. And back then, when we first started Friendship Circle, we were using a totally different friendship model, where we were pairing teen volunteers with friends that had disabilities. And, it was an interesting setup. It kind of worked in that kids who were having a hard time making friends got paired up with a teen volunteer who showed up ready to serve, and, all inclusion glasses on, ready to be accepting and embrace this individual for who they are, which, has its merit, and it worked really well for a little bit. But what we were starting to realize is that, and really hearing it from the kids, is that, hold on a minute, I'm getting just as much out of this as, my special friend is. And I kind of cringe when I say that now, because we've
it's not really a term that's used here
anymore.
Right?
That's why I say
I mean, from as long as I've been involved, it's never been a term.
Here to just
right.
be friends.
It's a friend. It's a member.
You're a member, right? And what we did at the time, or 2016, probably about 5 years in, 8 years in, before we purchased this space, our home now on Murray Avenue, is that we recognized, based on feedback and watching what was going on, was that friendship, by definition, is meant to be reciprocal. And if we're setting it up that one person, first of all, applying labels, saying you're the volunteer, and you're the friend, and this person has the upper hand, and this person is being helped, when what was actually happening was that they were experiencing real friendship. We were just putting the wrong terms to it. We were kind of setting them up to have to figure it out on their own. And what we were hearing back from many of these authentic friendships that were forming was I'm getting just as I said, I'm getting just as much out of this, if not more, than my friend is. My friend is looking at me for who I am, and I'm able to show up as myself because of that. And that's where true friendship forms, when people allow themselves to be vulnerable. And it took us some time to kind of catch on to hold on, what are we doing that's, working against our mission in a way. A little history. Friendship Circle is actually a national organization. It was started by Rabbi Levi and Basi Shem Tov in Michigan, in Detroit. And they've been very generous with their model and have shared Friendship Circle as a concept to anyone who's really interested in opening up a chapter. It's been, a little more structured over the years, but back when Rabbi Morty and I started Friendship Circle in 2006, we were really just interested in offering something specifically in the Jewish community for kids that had disabilities. They weren't included. It kind of came to our attention. We were young, just moved back to Pittsburgh, looking for something to do.
Did you know any children who had trouble making friends, or children of special needs, or just like you guys felt it was something to do? Like,
no, which is why right away we were like, nope, not for us. Like, sounds like a great concept. Pittsburgh could totally benefit from it. We agree. We're totally down for like making the world a better place. That's what we want to do.
yeah.
But we just don't think we're the right people for it, because I didn't have a background in disability or special ed. I was a kindergarten teacher at the time. Loved that. And we were just like, this is great, but not for us. And ultimately it was for that very reason that we realized like we are the perfect fit for this, because why don't we know anyone with a disability? Why is this such a foreign concept to us? Why do all of our friends look just like us, more or less?
That's one of the most impactful things I've heard you say. I remember it was the like graduation for the teens last year, and you had said something very similar to that. And I was sitting there just like listening to it, and I was like, wow, if I wasn't in Friendship Circle, like I don't think I would like have as many people in my community like as I do, as I know I wouldn't be as comfortable around people who are different than me as I am, just because it's like something so like big at Friendship Circle. And just like every time you say some of that, I'm just like, wow, like it's just like my mind is like, I don't know how to, you know what I mean? Like,
well, because it's not what you expect of
Right.
yourself. Like you're a kind person, you're a compassionate person. I remember at the time also, like, I was like, we went through the Jewish day school system here in Pittsburgh, grew up with these values of, treat your others as you'd like to be treated, or, and for whatever reason, like we weren't ever like actually then given the opportunity, like, all right, here's what you can do. So honestly, when we went and visited a Friendship Circle, the one in New Jersey. And I remember at the time hearing something that like Morty and I like were kind of like, I think we can do this.
What was it?
It was about the fact that this is about community. This isn't about helping kids with disabilities. This is about leveling the playing field in community. And why aren't kids with disabilities included? And who can we rally to make sure that everybody's included? And teenagers, you are a target.
Right.
You're at an age where, first of all, you are, being primed for community service, make the world a better place. Many of your schools, I know, even require community service hours. I remember when I was in high school, I don't know if this was the case. We went to the same high school. We had to do what was called chesed hours, where we had to like have a requirement of 3 hours that we needed to do it. So we were like, actually, as part of our curriculum, like practicing, showing up and doing kindness for others. And I remember I would do them because I had to. This idea of like that moment happened, but like, what did I do beyond like?
Right. It was I have to do this moment.
Yeah, and I think I was doing good in the moment,
Right.
but like, did I actually make the world a better place because of that? Like, have I changed as a person because I did that? That changed my way of thinking, other than maybe now I know how to do someone's laundry and before I didn't, or helping someone with a task that they needed help with that I learned how because I needed the help in the moment. Like, those are good things, and there's place for that. But when it comes to like community service, I was like, how am I actually like making an impact on community? But I wasn't questioning it at the time. This is me like thinking back to that community service time. So fast forward, here we are. That was like a little bit of our aha moment of like, this isn't about, having the right background. This is about recognizing the gap that there is. And if we're the ones seeing the gap, like, we're the ones that need to address it.
Right.
And we're the people that are the ones that haven't made the space for people in our lives that may look or act different than we do. And if we have an opportunity to model that for the youth of the community that we grew up in, like, let's give it a shot. Why not? Let's try. So we were like into it, like, okay, fine, we can do it. And at the time, and I'll, talk a little bit more about this, recognize that you can always surround yourself with the people who have the expertise and knowledge and experience that you don't have. You just have to have the intention.
Right.
And we were like totally focused on like, all right, what's the gap in our community, and like, what do we bring to it? And then who else do we need to get on board to help us with this?
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for that awesome answer, Rivkee. So how has the mission of Friendship Circle evolved over time, specifically in the way that we've acknowledged teen and community members' mental health?
All right, so we talked already about how we kind of like merged, that it's not so much about teens helping kids with disabilities. This is about, true friendship, and how that model for social connection has evolved. So, without like defining Friendship Circle as a program that is responding to mental health needs, the structure and components of our entire program have always included like key aspects to just overall well-being of our members.
I would think that like mental health wasn't even talked about. I mean, not like talked about, but like really like thrown into Friendship Circle until I feel like you came into Friendship Circle, because you at least have been like the loudest voice of mental health. So like I being younger, you aren't like super involved in Friendship Circle, and so like as like I feel like I kind of came into Friendship Circle as you came into Friendship Circle.
Yeah.
Like in teens,
As a staff,
as a staff, and me as a teen. And so like mental health really became this like bigger thing that was talked about within Friendship Circle, which like I didn't even realize it wasn't talked about until you had that one guy come for training tracks who was like, yes, Ayala had come to me, and like
Oh yes,
and like that whole
Robert
like
Anthony.
full circle moment,
a different
and
Bob
like,
Malkin, right?
Oh,
yeah. And like
We're
I
gonna
just,
have him.
I hadn't even
yes,
realized
that'll
that
be-
like it wasn't really talked about until like you had made me think about that. And like it might have been in Friendship Circle, but it hadn't been like one of, I feel like now it's like a core theme almost.
Yeah. Like I think it was probably always
It was like
part of
mental
our
health,
values,
but not like
maybe like there wasn't as much of a focus
Was
on
there a
programming
wellness
and stuff.
coordinator before?
No,
Oh, yeah.
Right.
It's not even in my job title. It just happened like during the year last year.
So this is important because that everyone brings something to the Friendship Circle, and I think that Chloe, to your point about like this wasn't necessarily a core value, it wasn't a focus, and you're 100% right about that. Friendship Circle, our motto is show up as you are, and we'll support you, and that as you are is like can be defined in such a broad term. And when we do member intake, for example, we talk to the person, we understand like who are you and what would you like to get out of Friendship Circle, how can you bring your best self, and how can we support you. And oftentimes it's about just showing up to have fun. Drew always reminds me of that, like calm down, Rivkee, this is just about having fun. Like yes, we're getting these people involved in a really important mission, but like let's just remind everyone this is about having fun. And so much of that inclusion is around like what does that person need to be, what parts of themselves need to be acknowledged. And of course we're recognizing whatever types of accommodations need to be made around physical accessibility. If individuals have intellectual disabilities, we want to make sure that they're just as included and have opportunity to participate and contribute. And I think it was about it was pre-pandemic, so it was like 2019 when mental health in general was just starting to be more talked about. Ayala, that was probably your era of advocating as a teen, just for mental health in general. And I think it was at that teen training track where you recognized that was something that you felt passionate about and wanted to advocate for, and have done so much with that. We're lucky that we've got her back in Friendship Circle now, in an official role. This is going on record.
Alan, don't cut.
And it's taken some time. It took me some time to recognize, honestly, like our board of directors was a little bit reluctant to say, like, are you sure this is within Friendship Circle's mission? We can't be all things to all people. How are we, trying to support everyone? And, we tried to, look around and say, Friendship Circle has never been an organization that wants to duplicate what other local organizations are doing. We always work together. We totally value our partnership. So we looked every way to say like, oh, this person's doing that or that person's addressing that. And ultimately what we recognized, and of course the pandemic accelerated the need for social connection and the recognition and how much that interfaces with one's mental health, that mental health is just another aspect of who you are. And that if anyone is struggling with that, and needs to be seen for that, then we need to show up and support you in that way. And that needs to be completely intertwined with everything it is that we're building in to support our members. So as a community, whatever it is that our members need support in, like Friendship Circle is committed to showing up for that. So that's like the short answer of how Friendship Circle has gone into mental health. Now, once we started building our programming and thinking about, all right, we're committed to mental health, and keeping positive mental health for our individuals who are, showing up okay, and supporting those who are struggling. What does that look like in Friendship Circle, and how can we make sure that you guys are showing up, you're here, friendship in some way, and you can share a little bit about what it is about Friendship Circle that allows you to feel safe and maybe a little more vulnerable than you would at other places. We want to make sure that we're able to show up and support you in that way. So our initial thought was we need to really bring it into all of the programming that's already happening. What it evolved into, because we brought on such great staff, and you guys made such a initiative out of it, was that we have like specific wellness things that we offer, but ultimately what we want to do is really integrate it into everything that we're doing, and making sure that whatever is happening here, we're taking whatever opportunities we can to support you. And that was when we took a little deeper dive into our mission and recognized that there were so many aspects of Friendship Circle that was already supporting the well-being of individuals. And we did a little research on it, and Dr. Laura Marshak, who's been an advisor at Friendship Circle, she and I talked a lot about this kind of before we committed to it, and then how it really plays a role in the organization. And some of the ways that Friendship Circle has been intentionally structured to support the emotional well-being of members of our community have like long been identified as key supports in individuals. And those are things like social connection and friendship, key components to a person's wellness. I mean, that's what Friendship Circle is. The value of friendship and connection can't be undervalued. And that's pretty much what we're all about.
1,000%.
So that's one. Another aspect, fun.
Absolutely.
Key component to wellness.
Yeah.
So that's our rule at Friendship Circle. Everyone always says, have fun. A sense of purpose. Have you guys read A Man's Search for Meaning?
Yes.
No.
All right. Put it on your read list,
on my
first
read
of all,
list.
by Dr. Viktor Frankl. And one of the things that he wrote, he was a Holocaust survivor, so he talks about a sense of purpose being key to his survival. And he wrote
I
life.
have heard of it too.
Yeah, it's a good, you can skip around also. If you're on that kind of
I feel
reader,
like
also.
I-
Read the
yeah.
index and start from the back, skip
I
around.
feel like there's like videos about him too.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Life is never made unbearable by circumstances, but only by lack of meaning and purpose. So like we can get through stuff.
Can I expand on that really quickly? In my health class, they had people from the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention come in, and they told us a study that there's an idea. Oh, this is in class. I don't want to butcher it. It starts with an I. I forget it. It's a concept in Japanese culture that like life has a meaning. Life has meaning, and they found that of people that felt that life had meaning, 60% lower rates of cardiovascular disease.
Oh wow!
Because it helps you, like, just this idea that you have purpose in life helps you on every measure, and Friendship Circle fosters that in incredible ways. And we know that it's not only good to physical health, but also to mental being. So important.
That's wild.
So you've talked a lot about Friendship Circle as a whole, the core values of it, and Friendship Circle as a community, the involvement of the Jewish community and just the greater community of Pittsburgh. But can you talk about why the concept of community is so important?
Sure. So Friendship Circle is community, and I think that's one of our core values. And we were talking a little bit earlier about how our middle schoolers who come into Friendship Circle who want leadership opportunity. One of the first things that we do is say, all right, guys, like, what does community service mean to you? And then we break it down on Friendship Circle terms. And there's a quote in Judaism that says that the 600,000 letters of the Torah are compared to the 600,000 souls of the Jewish nation. And we also know it's in Judaism that the Torah is considered incomplete if one letter of the Torah not only is missing, but if it has even just a little
scratch,
any kind of incompletion or affected in any way, doesn't look complete, and the entire Torah is affected. And because we have this analogy to the letters of the Torah being compared to community, we also know that a community is incomplete without every single person, not just the important ones, not just if the majority of or the community is in a good place. But every single person needs to be feeling complete and whole and access to reaching their potential in order for the community to be complete. And that's really, when you ask about how this relates to community, Friendship Circle values every single person, and we recognize that every person should have a sense of purpose and has a sense of purpose. We just want to help you bring that out and give you opportunity to share that with us, and then we all get to appreciate the benefits of that, like making space for each other. And that's one of the things, back to the middle schoolers, we start from, all right, we're all here, like what do we all bring to the table? And I think that's the biggest way that Friendship Circle has evolved over the years, where it's like sometimes you think about people needing like their specific role when they come into something, like, all right, I'm either being the helper or I'm being helped.
Right.
At Friendship Circle, we just show up and we experience each other and we bring something and we benefit from the people around us, and we also are okay just being together. And that's what community should be. And I think that's what makes a community whole.
What a beautiful answer.
Okay, I'm really excited for this next question.
I don't even know what it is.
I'm really just intrigued how you do it all. So having a family, running the Friendship Circle, being with family and friends, and doing other things that you find rewarding must be very challenging. We feel that same way with all the activities and things going on in our own lives. Can you talk to us, teens, Allie, about how you show up for yourself? And from your perspective, what does showing up really mean?
This is a really hard one because that's something that I really struggle with. I know we all do.
Yeah.
I think reminding myself, and this is recent because it's something that I've worked on. Yes, I am all over the place. What you just described is like I got dizzy just hearing it. I fill up my calendar too tightly.
Here.
I want if our pop question, I think you guys have had it, like is if you could have a superpower, mine would be being able to be in two places at once, because I don't like missing out on things, and I put a lot of stress on myself to like be present where I am, but I'm almost always thinking about like where else I could be or need to be or should be. I've tried to let go of the shoulds. So the question is, how do I show up?
Yeah, for family, especially like you're a mom of four kids, and then you also run this entire Friendship Circle.
All right, so I'll start out by saying that like one of my like life hacks or MOs, and I'm not recommending this, it's not a try it at home kind of thing, this is just what works for me, is that I tend to like not focus on things until they need my immediate attention. All right, this is not like an organizational skill that I'm proud of, but it's how I get through it. It's how I show up. I'll look at my calendar so I have an idea of what's going on like the next day or that week, but I won't start, diving into my script until an hour before here. Like I'll know what I need to have prepared to get it done, but I won't focus on it until it's right there. Over the years, that's like, it's, affected me in not such great ways, especially organizationally. So one of the things that I would say I've learned to do also is surround myself with people who complement that. So who are more organized, who can help me, schedule those things in a way that I can actually be prepared when I'm actually ready to give my focus to the people who need my attention. So I think that the way that I show up is try to be in the moment as much as possible. I think also sometimes telling myself like, that's okay, I have a lot going on and like probably too much going on. And I'm grateful for a lot of things that I have going on, but it's also okay to sometimes just be like, oh, it's too much going. There's too much going on. So I think that's how I show up for myself, is really just saying that like, okay, I took on too much today and I'm overwhelmed right now, and I'm going to power through it because I committed to it for today, unless of course I actually need to, get out of it. But I'm also going to remind myself that I also need to take a step back and show up for myself in other ways.
So do you then find yourself like time to do that? Like, or does it wait until your next free time? Like, does that make sense? Like,
time for what?
Time to just like refresh and just like have a minute for yourself and like breathe again rather than just go. Like,
I will say that when I don't find the time, like it has a negative impact and it's just not worth it. Like no one wants you showing up like not ready to be present, unless they're ready to support you, which most people in my life are. But you're not really helping the people who you're trying to show up for if you're not showing up for yourself. And I think that's the biggest thing that I've actually learned at Friendship Circle in the early days when I was trying to teach our volunteers how to show up for somebody else. But even today, to kind of translate it into in our more current terms, to model for what it means to be a friend, that you really can't show up for someone else unless you're showing up for yourself. And I've learned so much about the way that I interact with other people by how I'm showing up for myself. Like if someone's making me uncomfortable, there's no way it's something that they're doing. It's how am I, what's going on with me that I'm responding in this way. Like you're never going to be able to control how people show up. You can only control how you're responding to it. And if it's not feeling good, or if it's not working for you, it's working you, and you got to walk away from it. So I think that that's probably been something that I've learned a lot about showing up.
So interacting with so many different kinds of people, how do you find yourself changing as a result of that?
Interacting with so many different people has really been the biggest gift of Friendship Circle. It's like what got me excited from from getting into it to what like gets me excited about walking in here every day. I just love all the people that I get to interact with. I love that I get to interact with so many people. I recognize that we grow as individuals from every interaction that we have, and being able to interact with so many different people has no doubt changed me as a person. I was a very young adult when I started Friendship Circle.
How old were you?
23.
Abby Blank and I were talking about that at lunch today. How insane it was that you started Friendship Circle.
Katie's older than you when you started Friendship Circle.
That's doing some pretty cool stuff.
That's crazy.
It's mind-boggling.
Yeah, and
23.
So I kind of grew up with Friendship Circle. Like I say, my kids grew up with Friendship Circle, but I grew up with Friendship Circle.
Your
Morty and I grew up together in Friendship Circle.
Developing by the time you start, right?
Oh, no, I don't know.
It starts at 25.
Yeah.
So no doubt, like I don't mean to sound cliche when I say Friendship Circle has made me who I am, but it truly has.
Yeah.
And the core values of Friendship Circle are some of the biggest core values in my life and my family life. And I'm just grateful for having all the support and the people that have like gotten us to this point. Friendship Circle as an organization is responsive in nature. So we get to kind of keep our ear to the ground and see what the needs are and how we can show up and support each other. And I get to do that and be a part of responding and seeing people like you grow up into such caring individuals who know how to listen. I think that's the biggest thing.
That's something that Ayala and I were talking about a little bit ago. We were making a presentation for my school. We were like writing something about inclusion, and we were having trouble coming up with examples because like obviously you're just kind. Obviously you include people and you're just nice to people, but that's Friendship Circle thinking. And
that's so funny.
Yeah.
To me, only because like hearing you say it, and again, like Chloe, when I'm like Maya, I've known you as Maya.
Yeah.
Chloe, I've also known you since you were a kid.
Right.
And
like I have grown up with like you've grown up with Friendship Circle in a sense. Your kids are growing up with a different form of Friendship Circle. And I like to think that I grew up in like a huge transition period.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You were saying about how like being part of Friendship Circle is like a mindset.
Yeah, it is such a mindset.
It is.
It is. Because like you're just nice to people, obviously.
Yeah, but
yes,
obviously. You're nice to people, obviously.
But like there's some people who like it's not like that automatic thinking like, oh, it's not my like, oh, I don't need to, or it's like someone sitting alone at lunch, my first thought is go sit with them.
Right. Not because you're trying to get like mitzvah points for the day.
Right, but because
that's what we do.
It's the right thing to do. It's just you do the right thing and that's what you do. But like some of my friends are like no, like they're sitting by themselves, like they can come sit with me if they want.
Yeah.
Right.
But like you have to make that move, and that's something that Friendship Circle has like shown me. You have to initiate it.
I say it is a learned skill. That's what it has shown you. That means that hopefully people coming in, if it's not a natural thing to them, that they can learn about it and becomes more natural. Really, when we're talking about like an inclusive community, like it's so nice to hear you say it's a given to me now. Like I've grown up in this way, in this Friendship Circle way.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's like nurture versus nature. I grew up with this. So like yeah, but you can teach someone it almost as easily.
Well, one of the things that we talk about all the time, like when we plan our teen training tracks and teen orientations and member intake processes, is that I have this fear of people being in a bit of like an inclusion, kindness bubble here at Friendship Circle. And I don't want that to be popped when they walk out and are like, wait, why aren't they making space for that person? Or why did someone look at that person differently?
I mean, I get that.
And that's where
we were talking about that right before you came in, actually.
Yeah. And what can we do to empower you to like see the gaps in society when you walk out here so that you have that confidence to say like, I know it's not supposed to be that way because I've experienced it somewhere else differently, and you shouldn't be made to feel a certain way, and you know that you shouldn't because you felt it a different way, and you should be able to advocate for yourself or for your friends or for whichever stranger you're seeing mistreated because you know that we can do better as a society. It's been done, and that's what we try to model. Over the years, when we go to Emma Kaufman Camp, as you guys know, every summer, Friendship Day at EKC, and I've been going since 2008.
Wow.
Or maybe even younger than that. But every summer to like in the beginning was like recruiting. Now it's become like Friendship Day at EKC.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to ask like, how has Friendship Circle changed the way that you think about people? And like people would say like, I used to think this and now I think that, or I used to like, not include people with disabilities. Now I do. Or I used to think that, there's different ways of thinking. And now when I ask kids that question of how has it changed? It's like, this is the expectation that we have of each other now.
It's like
and
the
I think
baseline.
That's
Are you like so proud of that? Like, I hope you feel so proud of that.
That's a good question, Maya.
Like, do you not feel like you've made the community like literally better by, changing people's mindset and fostering this place where like you're just kind to everyone? That's the norm. That's the expectation. Right? Like, do you feel that you've had that impact on people?
There are definitely days where I'm just like feeling so grateful that
Good.
yes, like wow, this is an amazing place to be, and I'm grateful for everything that we've been able to contribute to making it this way. And like I said, it also sometimes feels like such a responsibility that we need to do. We've done this much, and now we need to, make sure we're building on that. And kids are getting it now. Like, how do we make sure that once they, kids that go to college are continuing to make change in their new spheres of influence? And so, yeah, we're really proud of everything at Friendship Circle, and also, thankful to everybody that's helped us to build it into what it is, and excited for how much more there is that we can do.
Good.
That was a nice question, Maya.
Okay, so answer the question. How do you suggest, what's your advice for young people who are seeking to do good in their communities like you did at 20
I think really think about what's important to you. Like, don't jump on someone else's cause just because it seems like the right thing to do. Do things that make your heart race a little bit, and surround yourself with people who can help you get there. You don't have to have all the answers. I don't think you have to have all the expertise either. You just need to say this is so important to me, and I see a gap, and I know that just by speaking out and talking about how important it is, or doing things, I can get other people to help me advocate for whatever my issue is, and not to wait until you're older. You can definitely do something now, and there's so many professionals in the community who want to back you up. Isla and I were just talking earlier how people love to hear youth voices, because you guys are the boots to the ground. And for all of us who are just trying to meet the needs of the youth of our community and help to support you into growing into the healthiest adults that you can be, physically, emotionally, spiritually, use your voices, because everyone really wants to support you and help you reach and achieve your dreams and goals. And don't wait until you're older. I can't say that enough. You can start something now.
Really? All right. Maybe we can all go around. Rivkee, you can start us off.
Okay.
Share a favorite song, book, piece of media, podcast, you said, hobby, artwork, quote, that has helped you heal or has brought you joy.
Okay. Well, shameless plug for the wellness committee's playlist. Are we going to share a link to that?
We should have that.
We should have that.
You guys have inspired me. We had a conversation the other night about music being such an accessible tool to joy, and that why not tap into that? So I'm going to get in on that, because music hasn't always been my go-to. I love the You Can Do Hard Things podcast by Glennon Doyle.
Oh my God, did you read her book?
Yes. Wait, which one? The first
Untamed,
one?
the one
No,
with
I
the
haven't done
beautiful
Untamed
cover?
yet.
I fell in love with Glennon Doyle
Okay.
after. I don't listen to the
Alright, we'll have to
podcast, but I
exchange the
did.
podcast.
Yes.
Because I mean, just like You Can Do Hard Things. Like,
Oh
all
my
right,
God.
I'm in.
She's great.
true.
She's great, and her book is awesome.
Guys, you can
Thank
find the
you.
link to our
Untamed,
you can find the link to our playlist in the show notes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then another thing that brings me joy lately is like waking up early. I'm not a morning person.
How early is early?
Like a little after 5.
That is
Mm-hmm.
objectively very early.
And the reason it brings me joy, even though I really don't like getting out of bed, it's so hard to get out of bed, is because I can like get myself together before I have to get the rest of my family up. That brings me joy, being able to like show up in a better place for them first thing in the morning, like ready to roll. Like, here we go, instead of
it actually sounds like a dream, just like very hard to do.
Yes. And I'm very
What time
proud
do you go
of
to
like
sleep
being
at?
able to do that. Something I worked really hard on, and I recognize like talk about showing up better. I show up better when I wake up before everyone else.
What time
and
do you
get
go to sleep
myself
at?
together.
That's my question.
That's the flip side.
Yeah,
I
like-
also love not late nights, and I love to hang
You
out
can't go to bed at
and
12
waste
o'clock
time and do
wake up at
things.
5 every morning.
So that's the commitment. So I have to be sleeping by 11.
Really?
Like that's
great.
I have to be sleeping by 11.
I have
to be up
definitely
at 5.
texted you past 11. I feel
So
like
those are probably mornings that nope, not today on my alarm
I didn't
clock.
have to call you out. I'm just wondering how that's like.
So
possible.
so I'm not saying that I actually get up at 5. I try. It's like I know that I show up better when I do that, and I do it as often as I can. And on days that I go to bed late and wake up as early, like the rest of my days just don't have as much joy.
Well, I feel like that's a part of being human. Like, you don't have to do it every day.
Exactly.
Or like do a
It's-
perfect job.
Yeah, like it doesn't. You don't need 100% attendance of getting out of bed early.
Yeah.
Like, you're allowed to sleep in. Give you like when you wake up if you just need 10 more minutes of lying in bed, or if you can get up and get ready for the day. Like I agree with you. Like
You're
when
so
I
right,
get up
Chloe.
like
Well,
an
for
hour
us,
early, or not like an hour,
early is like 8 o'clock.
30 minutes earlier for school, and I can like get ready and like actually figure it out and like be together and not be rushing out of the house. Like I get to school and my friends are like, wow, you look great today. And it's not because like I have makeup on or like I'm dressed differently or anything. It's because like I look ready for the day and like I'm awake and alive.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of effort put on the front end of that. And that's the thing. But I think you're right about like knowing when it's just not going to work today. And like, yes, there's that's what I can strive for. But if it's not working for you in that moment, it's also okay to say tonight I'm choosing a late night over getting a great start in the morning.
All right, Allie, you're up for this question.
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, I want to say, even if you don't do a perfect job, like how we were talking about, you can still be an inspiration to other people. Because I think about a year ago, I was talking to Rivkee. This was like one of our first wellness fairs that we had December of 2021 when I was on as a staff member. And I was talking about meditation, and we're talking about how that doesn't really work for you. One of the things that you make sure to do is to wake up every morning and do like Pilates, like that's your you time. And I was like, it really stuck with me. So it's something like in terms of like exercise, like one of my hobbies that I've been trying to do lately is just to like not do a perfect job, not do a personal fitness best job, right? Because I'm pregnant and that's not what it looks like anyways. But just to like move my body. So whatever 100%. I feel like my body needs like that day. In terms of exercise, it could literally be like breathing and stretching. And I'm like, hey, like I exercised today and like that makes me feel good. Or I walked for like, 15 minutes. I walked. Or I did a walking video, which is really cheesy, but I started doing walking videos. And they're really fun if you can get past that cheesy factor, and it is enjoyable. So like making that little bit of time for myself, that was passed on to me a while ago, and I'm trying to incorporate it and like being gentle with my expectations.
That's awesome.
So.
All right, Isla, you're up.
I always get stressed with this question.
You're like, what books do
I know something. I'm like, shoot, I didn't prep. So I would say music. I go like off and on. I know that music is so important for my mental health, but I actually like struggle with putting it on. Like I just, I don't know. I like honestly don't even have the second to remember that I need music in my life.
Wow.
So when I do listen to music, it's usually like in the genre of like Dean Lewis and Noah Kahan.
Yeah.
They just speak to like my mental health in the best way possible. So I would give it, that's they're my shout out. We'll add them to the playlist.
Awesome.
Yes, for sure.
Chloe, your turn.
All right, Chloe.
I agree. This is a really hard question. I recently read Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, and I'm not like a big reader, but I have to say that after reading that, like my perspective has changed. And I feel like as not a reader, it's hard to have that perspective shift so like immediately. Like I had started reading and I was like, oh, like connections were flying in my head. And it really just like helped me realize that it was talking about success and how like we look at success differently than how it actually is. And the one that really stuck with me was that like grade levels, like the years are split up really poorly and so unfairly that it gives advantages to different people. And you know how like sometimes parents hold their kids back a grade at the very beginning?
Boys especially, it's called
Boys
red
especially,
shirting.
right. And it's because the cutoff is in November, or so there's some kids that are with kids that are like full 12 months younger than them and at the ages of like, I don't know, how old are pre-Kers and kindergarten kids? Like 4 or 5, like that's a huge age gap. Like these 4 and 5-year-olds who are 6 months different, like it's huge. And like 100%. Thinking about this now, like I'm at the top of that age gap. Like, so I would have been like stronger with those abilities than some of my other friends. So just like thinking about that and how like it's formed my life to now is just really interesting to see where I could go and where I'm going to go.
Very interesting. Love to put that on the book.
I'll answer my. So I think I talk about this a lot, but for the past 4 years, not 4 years, maybe pandemic, I read every night before bed. Yes. Like I don't keep my phone around my phone. I keep my phone in the bathroom, and I read every night.
That's the biggest thing.
I wish.
And
I could never.
Like really, some days I'm like, wow, I'm really excited to just put my head down on the pillow and read tonight. Like, it feels like I'm in this new world, and like I don't think I even realize how much this has helped me, like to create division between my day and my sleep. I think it's just spoke volumes to actually how I perform and my sleep. And not be on a screen before bed, we know has a lot of scientific research behind the positive, but like separating, going to another fictional world has just been like great for me, and I cannot recommend it to any. Like I cannot recommend enough. Like sometimes it's 3 pages at night, sometimes it's 1 page with my eyes closed before them. But like having that division, I think is really great for me. Rivkee, can you think of a time in your life where you were challenged, where your mental health was challenged, and can you tell us what strategies or techniques you used in the face of that?
Okay, the one piece Isla that we were talking about earlier, and I feel like we may have covered it, but just to say it out loud, because I don't remember if we're talking about it now or then, was recognizing that I recognized over the pandemic the fulfillment bucket, the fulfillment list as a tool. That I realized how much I actually needed Friendship Circle for my own mental health, and that over the pandemic, like I was just struggling in general, and I realized that like not having that like interfacing with people, number one, but also like that sense of purpose, even though I was at home like with 4 kids that I was taking care of and getting through the pandemic with, it was the sense of purpose that like I subscribed to, that I felt like I was good at, that I kind of needed. And my therapist at the time recommended that I write a fulfillment list. Just because at the end, I would say like at the end of the day, like I just like didn't feel like finished. Like I didn't feel like I fulfilled basically. And it was a really cool tool for me, and I don't use it all the time, but sometimes if I'm like ending the day with like that empty feeling, to look back at my fulfillment list and say like, okay, I know that like friends, work, kids, good food, and exercise are all on my list, and I only hit 2 out of 6 of those. It makes sense that I'm feeling this way. Like, okay, now I can go to sleep without being like, oh shoot, like what is wrong with my life?
I do too.
I should do that. Yeah.
So just like being aware of like what brings fulfillment to you. And I think during the shutdowns, when I didn't have the things that I needed during my fulfillment, during that time, like made me aware of, okay, these are things that bring me fulfillment every day. And it's okay if I don't get to all of them every day, but being able to acknowledge like why you're ending the day with that feeling of maybe a little bit more emptiness or less fulfillment than you would on other days, and being able to point to the why and why not. It's on my notes.
Thank you so much, Rivkee, for coming on here and sharing your experiences, your personal and also about the Friendship Circle. It's really interesting and we loved having you here.
So in today's episode, we discussed the start of Friendship Circle and what Friendship Circle has turned into now. We discussed about Rivkee's life and just who she is, what she brings to Friendship Circle.
The awesome girl boss she
Yeah,
is.
just how amazing she is. So we hope that you guys will continue to grow with us as we share stories about friendship and mental health and share resources in future episodes of the podcast.
If you'd like to hear more stories and episodes like this one, feel free to subscribe to the podcast.
And to the YouTube channel.
And to our YouTube channel.
Now on YouTube.
We're wishing you all well, and thank you for tuning in and being part of our friendship family.
Everyone together, 3, 2, 1.
Signing off from Friends on Air.
Always wanted to say that.